Hey there, how's it going, guys?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks for hopping on last
Absolutely.
minute here. Well, first off, I want to apologize if we did get any information incorrect. We definitely did not want to do that, but glad that you could hop on and kind of set the record straight then.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I watch you guys every week, so it was nice just to kind of be able to get involved this week, I guess.
Yeah.
Not really the way I wanted to do it, but I guess that's what we're doing. Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify a couple things. So Music City last year was my first event. I had a partial tour card. And that's when we got like the threat of violence during the tournament and we had to stop play. So since that point, there's just been a constant level of vigilance and anxiety that goes along with that. I'm sure every player feels that way now. So this year, my first event of the season was going to be Music City Open again. And when I got put on the card with Natalie Ryan, I've played with Natalie before, and it's been totally fine. And I'm very respectful and polite to everyone I play with. I don't try to cause any trouble. But for this particular tournament, it started with me feeling very uncomfortable because I knew that there was some planned protests against Natalie, and it's unfortunate for everybody. And I just felt very unsafe to be on the card, let alone on the course. So I contacted multiple people from the Pro Tour. Eventually, I got a hold of someone the following day after the two tee times were posted. And I just really wanted to get an earlier tee time. There's a 740 tee time available with only 3 players on it. And I thought, hey, let's just see if they will switch me to that. I'm still going to be uncomfortable to be on the course with the planned protest, but at least I'll feel like a little bit safer not to be on the same card. And that, I asked that, and that's all I asked, and they refused. So then I was like, okay, well, how about you guys just move me to the MPO division? And they refused. During that conversation, I was told that I misgendered a player, and that if I did that again, there would be disciplinary action taken. And that
you're saying during the discussion of trying to change tee times, you misgendered Natalie Ryan in that conversation?
Correct. Which okay. I was then told that he was going to pretend he didn't hear me say that, and that could be a, how do I say it? Disciplinary action would be taken. I don't remember his exact words at this point, but.
Who were you speaking with? Is this?
A Disc Golf Pro Tour staff member. I don't want to give out anybody's names.
Yeah, I was just seeing who, like, how far up the chain it was, because, like, is that have you heard of anything like that?
Of like what?
I haven't heard or seen anything saying, like, if you misgender someone that they're going to, like, that's you're not allowed to
get reprimanded.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. Is that?
Well, it's apparently a Pro Tour policy, which I didn't know.
I don't think you're allowed to just go around and say those things about people. No.
Okay, it just wasn't something I was made aware of, so I didn't know if that was something that I missed. That was like because, like, obviously that wasn't a policy at some point in time, right?
Yeah, I think compelled speech should never be a policy.
So I think it was something that was put in place at some point.
Yeah, and yeah. So, anyways, from that point, after he compelled my speech, I asked to just get a refund so I could be done with it all and not have to worry about it for that event. And he refused to do that. So at that point, I was pretty upset. I tried to stay very polite throughout our conversation. I didn't bite back when I felt like I should.
What time was this, real quick? Sorry, when was this conversation happening?
I believe it was, I actually have it written down. It was 10:44 a.m. on Thursday, April 3rd.
The day before the tournament.
Day before, yeah.
Okay.
And I had contacted a higher up member of the Disc Golf Pro Tour staff the night prior, immediately after I saw my tee time. I emailed them and I asked to just be switched to a different tee time where there's an available spot. And no one responded. And I emailed another person and no one responded. So I finally called this person, hoping just to have someone hear my worries about the tournament and the safety. And he was more concerned about compelling my speech than trying to listen to my safety concerns. So the next morning I decided to show up to my tee time. When I got there, there weren't any safety precautions that he did kind of say that he was going to have, such as, like, He said they were trying to mitigate as many safety issues as possible that they could foresee, and that there would be police officers and bag checks for everyone. I got in without showing my credentials. I got into the player area without showing credentials. There weren't any police officers that I was aware of. No one introduced me to any police officers that were going to be on our cards. Apparently there were plainclothes officers that were off duty. I would have happily had someone introduce me to those officers that were going to follow us that day, but no one did that. So I could only go by what I saw. And what I saw was nothing. They weren't concerned, in my opinion. And
did anyone come up to you from the Disc Golf Pro Tour that day?
Yes, there was the person I talked to on the phone came up to me and gave me my credentials because they had closed the course the day prior for practice, so I wasn't able to get my new updated credentials for the season.
Okay.
I did offer to show them my ID when I was trying to enter the parking lot, and they said, no, it's fine. But anyways, I digress. When I talked to that staff member that morning, he just handed me my credentials and walked away. So he didn't try to introduce me to anybody or tell me the precautions that they were taking that day. So at that point, I knew I just couldn't play. It wasn't worth it.
So this was almost, it sounds like this was two. If I'm hearing this right, it sounds like it was almost like two parts. One, obviously, with what you said on the tee pad about feeling like it's not fair to have to play against Natalie Ryan in your same division, but also sounds like there's a secondary part too, where you didn't feel safe. You didn't feel like the Disc Golf Pro Tour did everything they said they were going to do for you that day. So it was like, it wasn't just Natalie playing, but also the safety factor and the stuff that you kind of, the threats that were thrown out last year kind of, roll over obviously into the same tournament this year. So those two things basically made your decision to, not play that event.
Absolutely. So yeah, the safety not being taken seriously, then the compelled speech. And then I do agree that the female protected division should be protected. But I'm happy to put that, I was happy to put that aside. I was just going to keep my head down. But when someone starts to tell me that my speech has to be compelled and that my safety doesn't matter to them, and they're showing me that by their actions and their words, I'm not going to put my money into that company. I'm not going to put my time and energy into a company that's not willing to support their players.
Yeah, it's the speech thing is tough for me because on one side, I'm not a huge fan of people. You can see when people are saying it maliciously and they're trying to say it to hurt the person's feelings, get under the person's skin, or excite some sort of emotion in other people.
Absolutely.
I'm not a huge fan of those people that do it, but then there's also the other side of where it's like, I just don't believe that. This is my belief. I believe that if you're born a female, you're a female. If you're born a male, you're a male. And so I'm just not going to jump into that line of thinking. And so like, that's where it's tough for me because obviously there's one side where I'm like, I'm in my situation, this is like, I wish it was civil. I mean, I'm shout out to our chat because at least our chat is somewhat civil, actually doing a pretty good job where if you go on YouTube while FPO is playing, they can't have live chat because it's really bad. People get really bad where at least people are allowed to say a civil, say it in a way to where it's not exciting violence or trying to get people upset or anything like that. They're just saying their opinions, right?
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
And I typically just try to address someone by their name so I don't have to worry about pronouns.
Yep.
Because my ideas and ideologies and politics aside, like I don't ever want to hurt anybody. I just want to play disc golf and I want to feel safe on the course.
Yeah.
And if I have a concern for my safety and other safety, I just can't stand for that. And then also being told how I can speak, especially when I'm not being hateful to anyone.
I'm wondering if it's because of the lawsuit going on.
It might be, and I don't know everything behind it.
Because Natalie's playing in the division, I'm sure it would be tough to play with competitors and then for them to misgender what your views are. And because of the lawsuit, they probably had to have some rules in place, is what I'm guessing.
Sure, but I don't want to like talk by feeling, but from what I gathered, he was more concerned about sharing his ideology with me and his thoughts and feelings on the matter rather than listening to a player with real concerns.
Let's move a little bit to the safety stuff, because I do find this to be a very tricky situation, right? Something that we've talked about a bunch on this podcast is the fact that there are so many people that simply do not have the funds to tour. Like, we're seeing more and more players not tour this year because the funds are just not there. It doesn't make sense to do that. So what we're trying to do is, okay, how do we get more money into the purses? How do we get people paid more? And obviously that's cutting costs that make no sense or don't have a return on investment. Obviously that's also trying to get more fans, trying to sell more advertising, all those things. So something that you bring up, safety is a huge, huge thing. And I think one of the things that really hurt disc golf in the beginning was when the Pro Tour had to look at the safety side and say to themselves, hey, we can't just have people show up at a park anymore and play disc golf. We actually need to start having ropes separating players from fans. We need to start having a spot that players can warm up that isn't where fans can't walk to. We need to have security. We need to do, and when they start having to do all that, that's a lot of expense that is going to that. And so where I am with you in the sense of like, in a situation like this, should we have had a crazy amount of security out there? Sure. I would love to see that if we had a crazy funds of like overflow amount of money. How does that work though if, let's say, $10,000 is getting pulled out of the purse because it had to go to security? Is that something that's possible for disc golf to continue down the road if that's what they have to do?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I just play disc golf.
And you want to feel safe when you do it.
Yeah, no,
I don't know about their policies for safety. I just want to throw plastic at chains, and I want to share my love for disc golf with everyone. And I don't know what kind of policies they have to make, and I don't know what kind of security measures they have to take, but I do know that if we don't protect our players and we don't feel safe on the course, then you're not going to have a tour. And I also know that if we don't protect the female divisions, we're not going to end up with a female division. That's going to go away if we don't protect it.
Almost did.
Yeah. I said this a few episodes ago on our other podcast, where I said being a female on the tour is actually I think one of the reasons why we're not really seeing the FPO division grow as fast as the MPO division, as far as like just the field size, but also like the talent pool. We're not seeing more, women that might have other background coming into disc golf that we see in the MPO side, is how hard it has to be touring as an FPO player. Like, if you don't have a family member touring with you, if you don't have a husband touring with you, or a significant other, or if you don't make a boyfriend that plays MPO and you're just solo dolo out on the tour, like, I don't know if I would want my daughter to do that. I feel like that would be very scary. Like, these people are living in their vans in parking lots. Like you said, like, I'm sure you've probably have seen it too. Like, some of the parking lots aren't super security. Like,
I've slept in those parking lots by myself for months.
It's a scary thing.
And if you're as a female on tour who tours by themselves most of the time, like, you're constantly feeling a sense of anxiety, and that's something you have to learn to live with, and you have to learn to protect yourself, and you have to learn to pay attention to these bad situations that you might put yourself in, and you have to negate those things from happening. So you grow a lot when you're on tour as a female and you're solo most of the time. The last thing you want to do is to have your head on a swivel during a tournament round when you're supposed to be just focused on each shot.
And I think that's where it's challenging for me to put myself in the disc golf pro tour shoes, because it's like, okay, we want FPO players to make more money so they can get Airbnbs, they can get hotels, they don't have to sleep in their vehicles in parking lots, they can get in safe areas. Okay, how do we get more money into FPO? Oh, wait, we actually also need to spend a whole lot of money on security so that when they are playing, they feel safe as well. And it's like, that's where it's like, I feel like that's a really
and let's remember
task.
The Pro Tour has divvied out a lot of money for the FPO division.
Correct.
A lot. All right. Like the purses are insanely
weighted
different.
FPO for sure.
Weighted. Yeah. Compared to when there was no Pro Tour.
Yeah. So like, I think that ultimately is like the question that I don't think there might be even a good answer to, because you don't want anyone showing up to the course. Cause I'm with you too. I saw, cause I was there Friday and Saturday. I want to say one day I didn't see any police officer. I think it might've been Friday. And I want to say Saturday, there was a police officer in uniform at the front. Now, were they doing bag checks and stuff like that? I don't know. I didn't have a bag, so I just walked in. But yeah, you want people to feel safe when they're I mean, heck.
I remember last year they did. I wasn't there this year, but I remember last year after the threats and everything that there was a pretty sizable increase in security.
I mean, there was one cop I saw there the entire time that was in uniform. There, I didn't see any.
And Abigail, you were saying that they had undercover or in normal street clothes.
That's what they told me after the event, when I brought to light that I was concerned for safety. I don't know. I can only go by what I saw. And they told me afterwards that there were plainclothes officers that were off duty they were going to send one of them on the card with us, which would have been a lovely thing to know, because I may have changed my mind, but I'm glad I stood up for females in all sports. I'm glad I stood up for my safety, and I don't regret what I did. I wish it could have gone differently, and I wish they would have taken my concerns seriously.
Yeah, the security side is yeah, you don't want players to feel unsafe. You don't, I mean, spectators too. Heck,
Absolutely.
God forbid anything happens to a spectator while they're at an event. You don't want to see that either. So it is, I wish it was like an easier like solution of like, oh yeah, just like, it's like when Florida plays Florida State, just like every cop that's in the county shows up. You can't do that with disc golf. There's not enough money to do that. Like players would just not be making anything if all the money went to there. But then that's where it's like so tough. Like how much money do you pay for safety? But now you're taking that out of the players' pockets, and it seems like a tough situation.
And you're you do have to sign a waiver that's being like, I am putting myself at risk to like elements out there too. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Like, so that I don't know if that waiver would.
Well, they never actually had me sign a waiver this year. They emailed me and said that they were going to have a waiver for me, and then they never sent it. So that was odd. But that's beside the point. I just, if they were having, off-duty police officers on site already, why not take an extra 2 minutes to introduce me to them? Tell me what's going on.
Or at least point them out and just say like, hey, this is the guy. If you don't feel safe, or if you see anything or anything like that, this is the guy. Because like, here's the thing. It's a two-sided, I see where you're coming from, but also whether you agree with Natalie playing in the FPO division or not, like Natalie's dealing with the same stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it's on both sides.
Yeah.
And so
it's an awful situation for everybody. Natalie Ryan included. I mean, it's not good for anyone. And I wish that there was a simpler solution. But I decided to take my stand because I couldn't continue to put my head down for so many different reasons. I believe in the protection of female rights. I believe that women should have the right to compete in a fair and competitive playing field. I believe that we have a mixed division for everyone to join in. And I believe in the safety of myself and other players. No matter what gender they are, everyone deserves the right to feel safe. And it sucks that everybody's been put in a bad situation with this, and there's not a great solution. And I don't envy the Disc Golf Pro Tour's situation, because I honestly don't know the solution to this either. I know solutions to other things that we're talking about, but not the safety aspect. I mean, we're playing in open parks in the public, area, so anybody can walk in. It's just.
And it's also a lot of land. It's also a lot of land.
A lot of land to cover. So.
Yeah, I think too, like leaving this, the one thing that I have like as a still question is this new policy, first off, when did this new policy come into play? And is that directly related to the ongoing lawsuits or the ongoing court cases that is happening with Natalie and the Disc Golf Pro Tour? Because if that's the case, I think I'm okay with it. I think it makes sense. As far as like, hey, it's the law. You can say it sucks. There's a lot of laws out there that I'm sure people don't agree with, but at least that's like, it's coming down from, someone above the Disc Golf Pro Tour, right? Now, if the Disc Golf Pro Tour just said, hey, this is what we think, and this is what you guys all have to abide by, I think that's something that maybe we can push back on.
From my understanding, he said it was a Disc Golf Pro Tour policy.
See, like that to me is like,
yeah, but then again, it might have to do something. We might just have to have Jeff come on.
I think we might have to have Jeff come on,
because that would, to me, logically, that would be something like all this stuff. My brain goes straight to the lawsuit. Like that would make sense, so that you're not held accountable for these certain things, because it is a big lawsuit and spent a lot of money on it already.
Yeah. You got anything else?
I don't think so. I appreciate you guys hearing me.
I do
share the facts and everything. Yeah, what's up?
I do have one more question. Did you talk to them after like everything about like, did they like contact you about your protest, or has it just been you've radio gotten silence? Like radio silence?
No, they did reach out to me. I think. What did they say? Sorry, everything's been kind of crazy.
No, you're good. Take your time. Take your time.
They contacted me to share the safety precautions they took.
Oh, okay.
But I would like to keep a lot of that confidential between me and them. And they did offer me a refund at that point, which I decided I'm going to not be on tour this year. I'm going to wait for things for policies to change. And that's unfortunate because I've been working so hard for this, but I think we've left it on a very respectable note with each other and hoping that we can just help each other in the future. But at this point, I'm just going to bow out for a while and just try to help advocate for female protection in sports at this point.
I guess two things. One, what are other things that people can do to kind of help that? Because that's something that, I struggle with. It's like, I've said my stance on it. I've said what I believe. I said what I think is like the obvious thing of like, if we have divisions, then clearly there's a reason we have divisions. What more can people do, I guess, if they are trying to help, protect women's sports?
Well, I think for disc golf specifically, everyone could contact the PDGA and see what we can do to start changing these gender eligibility policies. That would be a start. I guess maybe getting leagues that are female protected for females only, that are biologically female at birth, get to play in these female divisions. And then just standing up against, when non-biological females are playing in a sport, in a female protected division, stand up for it, against it, speak why this isn't safe, this isn't fair, that women deserve the right to compete on a competitive level with fairness. Because we've fought so hard as women to have rights in this country. And we are just throwing it away if we allow men to come into our divisions.
Last thing, a lot of people in the chat want to find a way to support you. Obviously, you're not touring this year, but is there some way that people can kind of support you to maybe help you out next year touring? What are ways that people can do that?
Well, I'm very grateful for everybody who's offered to help. I'm respectfully declining any money at this time. I don't think that's right. But I guess just email the PDGA if you want to help protect women in our divisions. Share your thoughts, see what we can do to help change it, and advocate for the women in your life who are going through this.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on last minute to kind of say exactly what went down. And yeah, we appreciate it. And we hope you the best this year. I know that kind of sucks that you're not going to be touring, and it seems like you have put in a lot of work for it, but hopefully you can come back next year and we'll see you out there.
Awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Have a wonderful night.